You space bastard! You killed my pan!
Alright, so this is my review for Kick-Ass 2. Came out last year, 2013. And I really liked the first one, the first Kick-Ass. Thought it was really original, and liked pretty much everything about it. It was really fun, surprising, kind of surprisingly violent, but overall it was really good, and I thought it was super original at the time. So I was, excuse me, I was interested to see how this one would be, the sequel. They talked about it right away after the first one was done, that they'd probably make a sequel, and it just came out last year. It's a different director, so Matthew Vaughn directed the last one. He went on to do some other stuff, but this time Jeff Wadlow is the director. He's done some smaller stuff. Cry Wolf was a horror movie that he did, and then Never Back Down, dance movie. Everybody loves a good dance movie. So that's the director. A lot of the same cast is back, so Aaron Taylor Johnson is back as Dave Lazuski, aka Kick-Ass, and Chloe Grace Moretz is back as Mindy McCready, aka Hit Girl. And then we also have the main villain, who's played by Christopher Mintz-Plasse. Plasse? I'm gonna say Plasse. His character is Chris D'Amico, and he was the Red Mist in the first movie, but this time he changed his name. Now he's the Mother Effer. Say the whole thing. But yeah, so I don't know if I want to really get onto the whole plot, but so kind of starts out. Mindy is in school now. If you're following the first one, she's back to school. She's in custody of her dad's old friend, and she's actually just trying to be a normal student. And Dave is trying to get her to train him and stuff. He wants to keep being kick-ass, and Mindy just wants to really just be she likes being Hit Girl, but at the same time she's getting really pressured into being a student, and she kind of just wants to put it aside. So they're kind of butting heads a little bit with the training and trying to be a normal high school student. So you kind of have that going on. And then in Kick-Ass's world, he started a whole movement of superheroes, of regular people being superheroes. And so there's a lot of costume people out there trying to be superheroes, but they're not really doing much. They're just kind of walking around in costumes most of the time. But then he wants to be on a team, and so he ends up going to meet with a group of people. The first person he meets is Dr. Gravity, who's played by Donald Faison. You might recognize him from Scrubs. He's one of the main actors in Scrubs. He's Dr. Gravity, and introduces him to the rest of the group, and their leader is Colonel Stars and Stripes, and he's played by Jim Carrey. Which is really interesting to actually see him in this role. It's different. It's kind of more serious. It's got some funny parts. He has funny lines and stuff like that, but very different role for him, I thought. So it was really nice to see that. Then there's a couple other people. There's like a couple girls, and there's like a family. There's like a mom and a dad that are on this team. So it's kind of a weird ragtag group of superheroes. They're not really superheroes, it's regular people, you know. And Kick-Ass by far is the most popular, most well-known, and everybody kind of looks up to him because they know he's actually been through a lot of fights and whatnot. But, I mean, the story's pretty simple. You kind of have the side story of Mindy trying to be a regular student and Dave wanting her to come out and be Hit Girl the whole time. You have that going on, and she's kind of dealing with her now surrogate father, her guardian. But other than that, the story is pretty straightforward. Chris D'Amico, the MFer, he wants to be a supervillain, so he's tired of hearing about Kick-Ass and all the superheroes, and he's really pissed that, spoiler alert, I'm going to say some stuff from the last movie, he's mad that, you know, he's really vengeful and wants to get back at him for Kick-Ass killing his dad. And so he's just going to go ahead and get a group of the craziest killers that he can find to be like a bunch of supervillains with him. And by far the most interesting and the best character is probably Mother Russia, played by this really big bodybuilder woman. She has an awesome scene. They're going into a house to rough someone up from the superhero team. And she just has this insane sequence where she's attacking all these cops. That's probably one of the best scenes in the whole movie. I thought that part was awesome. It's really well done. So I liked her character. But again, I think like the first movie, Hit Girl comes off as really as the star of the movie, and even more so in this movie than the first one. I think she's kind of focused on quite a bit here, especially with her student story. But then just in general, she can do more. You know, she's more exciting to watch. She's more thrilling because she's so good at the fighting and the weapons and everything like that. So they focus on her a lot. I think that's good because I think she's a much more interesting character than Dave ends up being. And so I think she's the best part of the movie, and rightfully so. She was in the first one, I thought, her and Big Daddy in the first one. Like I said, I really like Jim Carrey's performance. It's very different for him. He's playing it pretty serious. You know, he doesn't really go for a lot of laughs. There's some funny parts in there, but he seems to be a pretty serious character. He doesn't have as much screen time, unfortunately, but I thought his character was a good addition. But it's pretty much what you'd expect it to be. I thought it'd be similar to the first one, and it is, and that's good. That's good, but at the same time, it doesn't really progress very much story-wise. It's just kind of happens, you know, with Chris D'Amico wanting to get back at them. And that side story with Mindy just kind of falls to the wayside also, about halfway through, I'd say. There's a part where she's trying to fit in with the other girls. And that gets kind of interesting, but then they just kind of let that storyline go. They don't come back to it, really, and at that point kind of failed to hit home, but... So yeah, there's no real... You don't feel like there's any consequences, or there's nothing at stake, really, for any of these characters, which I thought was probably the biggest difference from the first one, because if you don't know, you should probably watch the first one before you check this one out, obviously. And there's a huge, huge moment with Hit Girl and her dad in the first one, and that put so much emotional... emphasis on that first one, and it was really powerful, and there's nothing like that at all in this one. Nobody has anything to lose. You don't really feel like Dave could get hurt, or Hit Girl, or anybody really. You don't really feel like anybody's vulnerable, so that's kind of unfortunate, and it hurts, I think, overall for the movie. They try to do something similar with Dave's character, with his dad, but it doesn't work as well, and it just kind of falls flat what they do there. But overall, it's a good movie. It's very entertaining. It's not as good as the first one. The first one was really great and original. But I'm giving it a 3.5 out of 5, so definitely I would check it out if you like the first one. Just want to see what happens with the characters. Who knows if they'll make another one. I can't remember if this was very popular when it came out. I did end up seeing it in the theater. I don't know how it did budget-wise or... in the box office. Let's see. So, it looks like it about made back its budget, so probably doubtful that they'd make a third one, but who knows. There was some sort of, I don't know if it's controversy, but it was interesting because Jim Carrey did this movie, it's pretty violent, and then when they're going to start promoting it, he was kind of against it, didn't want to do any promotion because he was really anti-guns, and I guess he's super against handguns and stuff like that. So it was really interesting. He started distancing himself from his role here. I thought it was a pretty good role, but it's also interesting because his character's a pretty violent guy, so kind of a weird dichotomy going on there with his role in this movie and then in real life. He wanted to distance himself from it. That's interesting. But yeah, if you like the different type of superhero movies that are more realistic, maybe if you want to break from the whole Marvel DC universe, and you like the first Kick-Ass, I would definitely check this one out. So, sign off, I'll say, try to have some fun. Otherwise, what's the point?